Good evening, I'm Bersatu Michael, and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. Today, the country saw the highest single-day increase of COVID-19 cases on record, but there's no need to panic because a large portion of those cases were confined to the Bukit Jalil immigration depot. Malaysia reported its highest single-day spike of new COVID-19 cases today with 277 cases. This was revealed by Health Ministry Director General Dr Nurisham Abdullah at his daily press briefing in Putrajaya. From that number, only 6 of the new cases involved Malaysians, with 4 catching the disease locally and the remaining 2 were imported cases. The Bukit Jalil immigration depot alone contributed 270 cases, with 1 other non-Malaysian case detected at a construction site in Pudu. Meanwhile, 28 more patients have recovered, bringing the total number of recoveries to 6,559. There were no new deaths reported today. This means the death toll remains at 115.
Penularan wabak Covid-19 di kalangan rakyat Malaysia kini telah mencapai 1 angka dan setakat ini tiada peningkatan mendadak. Hospital-hospital Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia juga kini melihat pengurangan kes Covid-19 yang memerlukan rawatan di ward Covid-19 biasa maupun di unit rawatan rapi.
A deputy minister has stepped down from his post in the Perikatan National Government as 2 Bersatu factions continue to fight over control of the party. Shahruddin Salleh has announced his resignation as Deputy Works Minister. In a statement released this afternoon, he said he had committed a political mistake by joining the Perikatan National Government. The Sri Gading MP added that he should have considered the fact that the voters in his constituency voted for him as a Pakatan Harapan candidate in the last general election. This comes just 2 days after he said he was ready to quit the Perikatan National Government to save Bersatu, which is now split into 2, with one faction supporting party president Muhyiddin Yassin and another group backing disputed chairperson Dr Mahathir Mohamad. In his statement today, Shahruddin said his resignation from Muhyiddin's Perikatan government would be the first step of correcting his mistake. Based on the last parliament sitting on May 18th, it was revealed that PN only has a 2-seat majority, while Harapan has hinted that it possesses a sufficient number to reclaim Putrajaya. Since the pandemic started, face masks have become a hot commodity, and like any other item with a strong demand, these scammers didn't take long to appear. Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob said that police have opened 572 investigation papers on face mask scams since the movement control order began, which involved losses of 5.5 million ringgit. He said most of the scams involve sellers on social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp. He added that there was sufficient supply of face masks at shops and pharmacies and cautioned the public to be wary of online deals.
Saya ingin mengingatkan orang ramai supaya berhati-hati apabila membuat pembelian seperti ini melalui platform atas talian. Elakkanlah berurusan di laman web yang mencurigakan dan semak ulasan serta komen daripada pembeli lain. Dan jangan sekali-kali terpedaya dengan tawaran murah.
As daycare centres reopened, we spoke to several parents to see how they're feeling about the news.
Several daycare centres have reopened this week following the announcement by Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob that more than 6,600 daycare centres will be allowed to reopen immediately with the issuance of new guidelines. Ismail said that the permission was given following the complaints from working parents who have no one to take care of their children. As more economic sectors reopened, more people have started returning to work and parents needed to find someone to care for their children. We spoke to some to see what their thoughts were on the reopening of daycare centres.
I personally think that it should be opened. So long all the education centres or kindergartens they fulfill all the SOP. I think shouldn't be the problems.
Okay with it actually, as long as we all follow the SOP, they wear masks every day. So basically, not much problem lah.
Baguslah, especially those yang sekarang ni work from home. Isu dia pasal taska tak ada nak handle anak-anak kecil. So kalau dah buka sekarang, saya ingat itu baik untuk syarikat lah yang menggajikan pekerja yang work from home, sebab tak semua yang kita boleh buat kerja from home. So ada certain yang kita kena buat dekat office lah. So baguslah, tapi yang penting sekali SOP kena ikut seperti mana yang diarahkan oleh MKN lah, saya rasa.
Most parents were worried for their children but said that they had no choice. They said that they took precautions and added that they were satisfied with the SOPs in place for the daycare centres.
We are working parents, so that's no much options that we have to send the kids back to the daycare. But we also want to make sure that the daycare ensure that they observe the SOP.
Sekarang kan mostly office pun semua dah start kerja. Kalau tak buka taska susah pula nak hantar kan. Kalau kita hantar dekat jiran ke apa takut macam tak trusted.
We are worried, but in a way there is not so much of a choice because me and my wife both are working. So even though we keep children at home, it's very difficult to have dedicated work time.
However, some people were apprehensive with the reopening and thought it would be better for working parents to look for a solution with their employers.
Risau sebenarnya tengah macam ni kan sebab dia kan ramai-ramai bercampur macam tu kan. So kalau boleh sepatutnya tak berapa setujulah.
Dia buat masa ni kalau boleh kita jangan buka dulu. Mungkin ada cara untuk ibu bapa ataupun siapa yang bekerja pun mungkin dia boleh buat perbincangan dululah dengan majikan masing-masing ke macam mana untuk settlekan masalah ni lah.
But for those who need it, daycare centres are now available and have adapted to the guidelines set by the government to ensure that the children under their care are safe. Yu Tian Tian, the managing director of a childcare centre in Petaling Jaya, said the centre had strict guidelines in place for the children and made sure that safety precautions were being taken by their parents as well.
We check the temperature 3 times a day, and also for staff, they have to check their health every day. Parents as well, so we do check, and then when they arrive they have to sanitize their hand. All parents will receive the SOP from us, so we actually summarize the SOP, then parents read it, comply to it and then send. Like for example, they have to bring their face mask, if not at least face shield for the children.
Prime Minister Shahruddin Yassin is back at work after 2 weeks, and it was a very busy day for him. After being placed under quarantine for 14 days, Prime Minister Shahruddin Yassin is back in his office in Putrajaya. Previously, Shahruddin and several others were quarantined after they were exposed to an official infected with Covid-19 during a post-cabinet meeting. Health Ministry Director General Dr Norisham Abdullah said swabs were taken from the group on Tuesday and were found to be negative. The Prime Minister started his day on Thursday by briefing the Yang di-Pertuan Agong via video conferencing before chairing the cabinet meeting, which was attended by all ministers. The cabinet members met through video conferencing from 2 separate rooms in the Perdana Putra building to allow social distancing to be observed. However, Shahruddin's first day back to the office doesn't end there. The Bersatu Supreme Council is expected to convene tonight for a meeting in Kuala Lumpur. However, based on an invitation notice sent to members of the council, the meeting scheduled at 8:30 p.m. has left out party chairperson Dr Mahathir Mohamad and Deputy President Mukhlis Mahathir from the list of those invited. The notice cited by Malaysia Kini was signed by Bersatu Organising Secretary Suhaimi Yahya and listed Shahruddin as the acting chairperson. This would be the second time the party's Supreme Council has called for a meeting without Mahathir and Mukhlis. Coming up next, Minnesota is going after all 4 cops linked to the death of George Floyd. All 4 cops linked to the death of George Floyd have been charged, and the cop we all saw with his knee on Floyd's neck faces a new charge of second-degree murder. Prosecutors on Wednesday leveled new criminal charges against 4 Minneapolis police officers implicated in the death of an unarmed black man who was pinned by his neck to the street during an arrest caught on video, sparking 9 days of nationwide protests and civil turmoil. Derek Chauvin, arrested Friday on charges of third-degree murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd, was newly charged with an additional, more serious count of second-degree murder, according to court documents filed in the case. The added charge, defined under Minnesota law as unintentionally causing the death of another person in the commission of a felony offense, can carry a sentence up to 40 years, 15 years longer than the maximum sentence for third-degree murder. Chauvin was the white officer seen in a widely circulated video footage kneeling on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes, as Floyd gasped for air, repeatedly groaned, "Please, I can't breathe," before growing motionless while bystanders shouted to police to let him up. Floyd, whom police suspected of trying to pass a counterfeit bill to pay for cigarettes, was pronounced dead at a hospital shortly after the fatal encounter on May 25th. 3 fellow officers dismissed from the Minnesota Police Department along with Chauvin the following day were charged on Wednesday for the first time in the case, each with abetting and abetting second-degree murder and with abetting and abetting manslaughter.
Today, arrest warrants were issued for former Minneapolis police officers J.A. King, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao. Finally, I'd like to announce that today, Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman and I filed a complaint that charges police officer King, Lane, and Tao with aiding and abetting murder in the second degree, a felony offense. I strongly believe that these developments are in the interest of justice for Mr. Floyd, his family, our community, and our state.
Floyd's death became the latest flashpoint for the long-simmering rage over police brutality against African Americans, propelling the highly charged issue of racial justice to the top of the political agenda 5 months before the US presidential election on November 3rd. Scenes of protesters of all races flooding the streets, mostly peaceful but sometimes accompanied by arson, looting and clashes with police, have fueled a sense of crisis, but also hopes of change. The mass public activity followed weeks of lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic, which forced millions of Americans out of work and disproportionately affected minorities. Trump and China continue to go at it, with the US president now looking to bar Chinese airline companies from flying to the United States. US President Donald Trump's administration on Wednesday barred Chinese passenger carriers from flying to the United States starting June 16 as it pressures Beijing to let US air carriers resume flights amid simmering tensions between the world's 2 largest economies. The move, announced by the Department of Transportation, penalizes China for failing to comply with an existing agreement for flights between the 2 countries. Up until this point, Chinese commercial and charter flights were still permitted to fly into the United States during the current health crisis, mainly to fly Chinese students back home. But China has yet to permit US carriers such as Delta Airlines and United Airlines to resume any flights to China. The 2 companies had complained to the White House about the double standard. Delta said in a statement on Wednesday that we support and appreciate the US government's actions to enforce our rights and ensure fairness. United said it looked forward to resuming passenger services between the United States and China when the regulatory environment allows us to do so. US major airlines had voluntarily stopped passenger flights between the 2 countries in February after President Trump banned entry of non-US citizens from Chinese locations, but cargo flights kept flying. The Trump administration on May 22nd accused China's government of making it impossible for US airlines to resume service to China and ordered 4 Chinese carriers to file flight schedules with the US government. The Chinese carriers are flying no more than 1 scheduled round-trip flight a week to the United States, but also have flown a significant number of additional chartered flights, often to help Chinese students return home. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back with more tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Bersatu Michael. Thank you for watching.